Arizona. 6 Dodgers pitchers gave up 11 runs and 13 hits in the Game 1 loss Saturday night. First pitch at 6:07 on TBS. Top 5 teams in this week's AP College Football rankings: Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, and Oklahoma. USC dropped from 9th to 10th after their triple overtime win Saturday night over Arizona. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
On October 12, 2022, Nuri Martinez resigned from the Los Angeles City Council. This came a few days after the world heard Nuri and other elected members of the council speak disparagingly about black people, indigenous people, and others.
This white guy with this little black kid bouncing off the effing walls on the floor. There's nothing you can do.
And what participants believed was a private conversation, racism, colorism, homophobia, and bigotry were exposed like never before. The effort to undermine the political influence of black fellow citizens was specifically targeted by these so-called leaders. Everyday people stormed the doors of City Hall demanding immediate resignations. Even the President of the United States called for resignations. On Thursday, October 12th, 5 to 7 p.m., KBLA Talk 1580 will host a day of dialogue on the anatomy of anti-black racism and bigotry in Los Angeles with an all-star panel of civic leaders. Don't miss this conversation. Thursday, October 12th, live from 5 to 7 p.m. with an encore performance from 7 to 9 p.m. only on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
One, two, three, hit it. Watch me, watch me, I got it. Watch me, I got it. Hey, I got something that makes me want to shout. I got something that tells me what it's all about. I got soul, and I'm super bad. I got soul, and I'm super bad. Now I got a move that tells me what to do. Sometimes it's deal. Now I got a move that tells me what to do. Sometimes I feel so nice, I want to try myself a few. I got soul, and I'm super bad.
So how's this for a life path, a life plan? An African-American boy from Virginia who doesn't like to read ends up going to college and earns 3 degrees, spends more than 20 years at a huge telecom company, retires at the ripe old age of 49, and now has a new career making movies and musicals. He's the CEO of Solidify. I love that name. Solidify Productions, LLC. Working right now on returning The Wiz to Broadway, amongst other things. I am pleased to welcome B.K. Fulton to this program to talk about his career and these projects. B.K. Fulton, how are you today, sir?
Hey, doing good, Brother Tavis.
It's good to have you on. Thank you for the time. And it's quite the story, as I was saying to the audience a couple hours ago. You'll be joining us in this hour, and it's a remarkable journey that you have been on. Let me just start, though, at the end, and we'll go back to the beginning. Solidify. I love people who are creative enough to come up with these great names of companies and projects. Solidify. How'd you come up with that one?
Hey, I thought about what I wanted to do in my second act and realized that everybody has a soul. It's a play on the word solidify, and also that it's fly because it's cool. And we can bring out the cool in everybody. And the Y in the logo actually is the shape of a butterfly, and the colors are all the colors of people on the planet, all the resources we have to share, and the thing we have in common, which is the blood. And then this idea of a butterfly comes out of being humble as a caterpillar, but working on yourself in your chrysalis and turning into something that goes towards the heavens. So it's a lot of meaning in that.
No, I love it, man. Solidify. is the name of his company. I wish I'd thought of that one. It's a good one, but it's trademarked now. It's trademarked now, so you can't get it. Solidify belongs to BK Fulton, and I ain't mad at him. I'm going to follow you through this hour, as is my process and my way. And I want to start with what you just said moments ago about soul, that each of us has a soul. I recall many times the conversations I have with Barack Obama. There have been all kind of things written about. I haven't written it yet, so the true person hasn't spoken about it yet. I will somewhere down the road. But so much has been written and said and proffered about what happened or didn't happen between Barack Obama and me back in the day. And what has really not been told are all the conversations when people thought that we had this sort of tete-a-tete going on. All the times that Barack Obama called me, the times that I reached out to him, then all the conversations taking place during his campaign, his race for the White House. And I closed every conversation, BK, saying to Barack Obama, who was my friend, whatever you do, don't sell your soul, don't surrender your soul, and don't let them steal your soul. Whatever you do, by any means necessary, protect your soul. Don't sell it. Don't surrender it. Don't let them steal it. Protect your soul at all cost. Here you come now with this great name for your company, Solidify, and you start this conversation by saying that each of us has a soul. Indeed, we do. When we come forward, I want to start with that. I want to start with this notion of the souls of black folk. If I can borrow that phrase. Talk to me about what you've learned about the souls of black folk in particular. We will start there and move forward. It's a remarkable journey that BK Fulton has been on. I give you some sense of all that he's endured in his life and how he found himself where he is. I love celebrating the journeys of black women and black men who have, against all the odds, achieved some pretty amazing things. At the best of who we are is this soul that will not be denied. And so we'll start this dialogue with BK Fulton when we come forward, talking about the souls of black folk. You're listening to BK Fulton right now on Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom. Escalade IQ. This the intro to the all-electric Cadillac, perfected like Zoom. And on a full charge, you get 450 miles without the stop haiku. This is what I do, daddy fat intellect since 92. Linked all the way back, panoramic roof. Come with 24-inch rim standard. Ooh, why? Shawty don't kill him. Cadillac diamond in the back, cold chillin'. And when I'm on attack, on the track is no ceiling. Sky's the limit, you hear me? You hear me? Straight drop, no parachutes. Lay lines like a longitude and latitude. Feel it, beloved, clearly we're hustling. Bussin', truckin', Cadillac, Cadillac.
For more on the Escalade IQ, visit catblack.com.
Available late 2024. GM estimate 450-mile range. On a full charge based on development testing and/or analytical projection. Consistent with SCHA 1634 revision 2017 MCT. Range subject to change prior to production. Annual rates may vary based on service factors, including ambience temperature, terrain, battery age, and condition loading, and how you use and maintain your vehicle.
The City of Los Angeles Civil Rights Department and its Reparations Advisory Commission are calling on you to be a part of something powerful. Join the Black Experience Study to share your experiences with the City of Los Angeles. We want to hear your stories. To join the study, join a focus group, or schedule an interview with us, visit www.blackexperiencela.com by December 31st. For more information, call 213-978-1845 or visit www.laisforeveryone.com.
As veterans, we're no strangers to helping others.
That's what we were taught, service before self.
But we do have one question for the veterans listening.
When was the last time you reached out for help?
If you or someone you know needs resources, whether it's for stress, finances, employment, or mental health, don't wait. Reach out.
Find more information at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
Hey, son. How are you feeling?
I'm fine, Pops.
What's on your mind?
I can't explain it. Navigating without a compass, eyes waiting, started to wonder. Metamorphosis, the loss of who you thought you was.
When your kid can't find the language, Help them find the lyrics. Listen to the Sound It Out album and get tips and tools to start a conversation at sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by Ad Council and Pivotal Ventures.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
BK Fulton, you went there, so I'm going to follow you. Talk to me about what you learned over the years about soul, particularly yours, and more broadly, the souls of black folk.
Hey, well, I appreciate the question. We owe the great W.B. Du Bois for the naming of a collection of essays on the souls of black folks. I think he published it in 1903, but reading just transformed my life. I was in college at engineering school flunking out. There was too many beautiful sisters and too much basketball to play, and it was cold on that campus in the winter. And so I might have missed a class or two and didn't think that college was for me, frankly. And then I went to the library to plan my escape from Virginia Tech and found myself in the E185 section. And that happens to be the section in any Dewey Decimal System on our people. And what I learned was that there's this rich shared narrative of allies and excellence. And I picked up a book about Lewis Latimer. I picked up The Soul of the Black Folk. I picked up a book about Granville T. Woods and Elijah McCoy. And all of a sudden, a new spirit entered me. My soul awakened. And I went from the probations list to the dean's list to the board of directors of Virginia Tech, where they're flying me in a jet to govern the school. And that is what happens when we start taking in the right information, when we start taking in the stuff that feeds our soul.
How do you read then this current American moment that we are in, where if certain persons have their way, access to those kinds of text will be denied?
I think that's operating from a position of fear. The reality of our world, our society, is that people that are like us and that are brown and red and Asian and Jewish, we are the majority in the world. And in our own country, in the United States, by the year 2042, between 2042 and 2045, we will flip to a majority minority. And so what you see are policies that come out of the fear of that reality. So they want to curtail our right to vote. They want to control women's bodies. They want to push back on our great stories, our narrative, but they also want to increase access to guns. And I'm like, yo, let's make it make sense. How can you tell me that our young people are strong enough for weapons but too weak for words?
Strong enough for weapons, but too weak for words. That's the second great quote of the day. I was talking earlier, BK, to one of our guests, Mita Malik, and I make note of this every day. I say all the time, I leave this studio every day much smarter than I came in. And Mita said earlier in a conversation about the ways in which we are put upon in corporate America, which you've been a part of, that we are over-mentored and under-sponsored. And black folk just find themselves being over-mentored. I don't need no more mentorship. I need sponsorship, man. Over-mentored and under-sponsored. That's my first great quote of the day. Here you come with this one. So I've got two great quotes I'm going to take away with me when I walk out of the studio in about 45 minutes for today. But let me come back to this notion that you raised earlier. This is getting good, as we say around here. It's getting rich. Those books that you mentioned earlier that you picked up, my story is not dissimilar from yours. I grew up as a kid in Indiana, the cornfields of Indiana, and there was nothing around me that I could see in my immediate space that gave me any reason to believe that I could ever make anything special out of this black body that I inhabited. And what convinced me that I could do something with my life was the access to the books that I did have. the books that I was able to read. There were members of my church when these books were not on the bookshelf at this white school that I went to, this white school district I was in. When I couldn't find those books, members at my church brought me certain books to read, and it was in those books that I decided and found the drive, the determination, the hope, the dream, the aspiration to do something beyond this small space that I inhabited. And so I am troubled by the fact that today so many of our children just have not developed a love of reading. And I know, and you are another a living epistle of what can happen, what does in fact happen when our babies fall in love with reading early on. I mentioned earlier that you were a kid who ultimately, at one point, who didn't like to read, but you end up going to college and you find yourself in this library and here you are reading. But that's a long way of getting to this simple question, which is to ask you to say a word about the inspiration that can be found if we help our babies develop a love of reading early on.
Absolutely. Well, that's very well said. Bottom line is readers become leaders, and readers is the gateway to most of the things that are excellent in this world. One of the things that the enslavers of our ancestors did was they cut us off from our homeland, cut us off from our religion, cut us off from our heritage, cut us off from reading. You read, you get punished. You gather in a place where you talk and share, you get punished. So our ancestors had to go sneak off in the woods to places called hush harbors. And they would go in these places deep in the woods after working all day to blend Christianity, African tradition, to pray over each other, talk over each other, lift the old people, learn from the old people. And what that translated into is the modern church, the so-called Negro spirituals. Even Nat Turner conceived his rebellion in a hush harbor. There were also places where they would go and take wet towels and wet cloths and wet quilts and pans and turned upside down so that they could holler out the misery that they were experiencing and prepare themselves for the afterlife. It's a beautiful tradition of love and caring and connection to things afar that we have. But what has happened, if we fast forward to today, is that young people see the proliferation of the most negative parts of our experience, that we got beat up, that we got taken from, and they don't hear as much about the excellence of our story. And so, like I did, you don't assign yourself to the success narrative of humanity unless you have a caring adult that puts it in front of you, or you go seek it, as I did. It turns out that the brother that invented the part of the light that glows, Lewis Latimer, his family was from Virginia, where I'm from. And they escaped to the north so that he could have a better life. And the projects to light New York, Philadelphia, Montreal, and London were all headed by Lewis Howard Latimer, a brother. The very first book in the world on incandescence was written by Lewis Latimer. The original patent drawings for the telephone, drawn by Lewis Latimer. And so for me, when I think it was divine, when I went into that E-185 section, it had exactly what I needed to change my trajectory, because I was probably heading to the Army. Nothing against the brothers that serve. I served for a little bit, but the idea was to be the best version of yourself. Somewhere along the line, it's going to require some reading.
You mentioned love a moment ago, and I've said many times, countless times, that we are who we are because somebody loved us. It may have been your mama, your daddy, your aunt, your grandparents. It may not have been traditional, but we are, each of us. We are who we are because somebody loved us. Tell me about the folk who loved you growing up.
Hey, mom and dad were there 100%. My mom, they were both teachers. In fact, my dad taught me about entrepreneurship. And so the very first business I had, I was 10 years old. I used to cut grass with my pop. And then one day I got the mind that I wanted my own company, wanted to cut grass for myself. And I said, I don't have a license, so I'm going to need you to drive me to the job. I'm going to need your lawnmower. I'm going to need your gas. And I'm going to need a couple of your customers. and look, Tavis, look, they played along and rolled with a brother.
Yeah.
And so to this day, the confidence that I have grows out of those experiences. We all are an aggregate of our experience, and we have to teach our children who they are before the world tells them who they are not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm almost 60 now, but I learned about a book that I'm going to share that most brothers don't know about, and all of them should. In 1887, the Reverend Dr. William Simmons, he was the president of Kentucky State at the time, published a book called Men of Mark. The book is 1,400 pages of essays on successful black men no more than 25 years outside of bondage, themselves or their parents. How is it that I almost got to 60 before I learned of this important resource? The reason he wrote the book, and I quote, "I wrote this book because I noticed over the years that most of my students were unaware of the accomplishments of men and women of our stripes. And if I could show them that these people could achieve greatness in no more than 25 years, they could be great too," end quote.
What happens when you discover? I've had similar moments in my life. I know those listening have had similar experiences as well, where you have a discovery. It is an aha moment, if I can put it that way. When you discover this book, Men of Mark, what happens?
Oh, my goodness. It's like a light comes on. It's like everything is possible. It's like you're firing on all cylinders. When I discovered this, I said, well, I think I'm going to use my time to make some movies and to tell untold stories, to do for young people what this reading has done to me. And some people say, well, BK, you never made a movie before. How you going to do it? I said, the cat that made the first movie had never done one before, and they figured it out.
Yeah.
So if they can do it, I can do it. And then you start reading about the great Oscar Michaud and the Frederick Douglass Film Company that was formed before Oscar's company as a direct response to Birth of a Nation, which was a garbage that really knocked our community. And these brothers said, we don't want that to be the defining narrative of who we are, so let us take our agency and develop this film company. And they put out a film. I think their first film was called Black Lawyer Wins His Case. And it was a totally different narrative. And when you start to look back in the history of media, our people did what's called uplift cinema. And so what we would do is tell these stories to lift us up and say, baby, you can make a way out of no way. You can do great things. And when you speak that over folk, you tell them. I mean, I didn't know I could be, I'm trained as a lawyer, and I didn't know I could be a lawyer until Nikki Giovanni said over to me, I told her one time I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. She became a professor at Tech, where I was, and I took a class. And then the next time I saw her, she was having an event. I went to support it, of course. The dean of English was there, and Nikki introduced him. This is B.K. Fulton, one of my students. He's going to be a great lawyer. And I looked at her when she said that, and I was like, well, if she think I can do it, maybe I can do it. And I went on to do well in law school. And went to law school at night while I worked at the National Urban League. And but it's that sort of stuff, reading, having mentors, having people to speak over you, having those sponsors you talked about, and it starts to come together. And here's what I've also found. I don't want to get all ecumenical here or spiritual, but spirit is a part of our journey. But once you do all you know how to do, God, your faith tradition, the ancestors, everything that loves you shows up to help you to take the rest of the steps along the way.
Oh, that'll preach, as we say. That'll preach. Matter of fact, I think you are preaching without even taking a text and without having a license to do so. You know that's illegal, but you preach it anyway, and I ain't mad at you. But that will preach. Let me just ask this question. I've been fortunate in my life to be friends with Nikki Giovanni. We've traveled together. We've hung out together. We've dined together. We talked publicly. We've talked privately. She is a shero of mine. As a matter of fact, I was just online the other day. Every now and then I have to go look at it. And I was saying to the audience, I guess days ago, they should do it as well. If you've never seen the conversation between Nikki Giovanni and James Baldwin, you have to Google it. There's precious little in my career that I've seen in my life, rather, that I've seen better than that. And I think I'm pretty good at what I do. But this conversation between Nikki Giovanni and James Baldwin that goes on for quite some time is one of the best things I've ever seen. If you want to be empowered, enlightened, inspired, Google that conversation between Nikki Giovanni and James Baldwin. It will do something for you. Speaking of soul, it will touch your soul, and if it doesn't, check your pulse. But it'll do something to your soul when you see that conversation. I say all that to say that I love Nikki Giovanni. Again, dear friend of mine for many years, but I've never had the experience that you had of sitting in a classroom where Nikki Giovanni is teaching. What is that experience like?
It's awesome because throughout the course, not just one class or two, but throughout the course, she's dropping gems on top of gems. One of the most important things she said to me that I still carry and still do to this day is that she told me that the ideas come at all different times, especially in the still of the night. And so you need to keep away by your bed or something close to you where you can write it down, or they'll continue to gnaw at you and you won't be able to rest. And so I will wake up in the middle of the night, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and write down a line or write down something that the Spirit has put on me. And then I'll go and embellish it later on. Like I just finished writing a musical about the origin story of August Wilton based on these love letters that he would give to this waitress. And the songs started coming to me. And so I wrote the book and the songs. And the amazing thing is it happens pretty quickly. I mean, we probably wrote the songs in a month and wrote the book over the course of 2 months. And now we're about to workshop the production, and then we'll put it into rotation for our Broadway shows. But once you unleash yourself, I mean, I tell people, do you love yourself enough to give your dreams a chance?
You dropping bombs today. Dropping jewels, dropping bars. Do you love yourself enough to give yourself a chance? You told the story about Nikki Giovanni saying to you to keep something beside the bed, and the ideas come all hours of the night. I think of the true story. This is a very true story. Michael Jackson and Prince. We were in that era, as you recall. Everybody kept asking, who you with? You with Michael? You with Prince? Who you with? You with Prince? You with Michael? True story. Michael Jackson was once asked why he couldn't sleep and why he wouldn't go to sleep. And as you recall, sadly, he died under propofol one night trying to get some sleep. But Michael's answer to the question of why he didn't sleep was simply this. He said, if I sleep too long, I'm afraid that God will give all the good ideas to Prince. It's a true story. If I sleep too long, I'm afraid that God's going to give all the good ideas to Prince. Hence, Michael Jackson not wanting to ever go to sleep. I digress. This is getting good. Just getting started with B.K. Fulton on Tavis Smiley.
From the Mert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. In Mississippi, when the Jackson City Council meets tomorrow, members are expected to take up a proposed resolution that would rename a section of Martin Luther King Jr. Drive in honor of the late Hinds County Judge Loretta Stokes. Stokes passed away in May. She was the first black woman judge in Hinds County history. The American Heart Association is identifying a new medical condition. The condition reflects strong links between obesity, diabetes, and heart and kidney disease that, according to an advisory released today, is called cardiovascular kidney metabolic syndrome, or CKM for short. The American Heart Association is recognizing CKM in an effort to diagnose and treat people at risk of dying from cardiovascular disease sooner. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Wreck in Compton, 91 West at Central Avenue. Everything moving off to the right shoulder there. A 4-vehicle tie-up and some debris in the roadway. Traffic's heavy from Wilmington Avenue. A stalled vehicle in the Sepulveda Pass, 405 North at Mulholland. That is on the off-ramp. That drive's still pretty heavy, though, coming away from the Marina Freeway. And in Diamond Bar, a wreck on the 60 westbound at Grand Avenue.
Looking for a late-night spot to get the crew together? 3 words, Buffalo Wild Wings. They've got drinks and apps starting at $4 from 10 p.m. till close. B-Dubs, where late-night food and drinks start at $4. Cheers to that. Limited time at participating locations. Offers, days, and times may vary. Drink responsibly. Void or prohibited. Tax and fees extra.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. Want to save big on custom faux wood blinds, shutters, cellular shades, and more? Shop Blindster today and save up to 50% over comparable blinds from brick-and-mortar stores. Get custom blinds at low prices and free shipping at Blindster.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Rams played Philadelphia tough yesterday, but lose by 9 at SoFi. Philadelphia improved to 5-0. Give the Rams defense some love. They kept the Eagles out of the end zone in the second half. The problem was the Rams offense. The Rams went scoreless in the second half and dropped to 2-3. The Dodgers pitching staff is on notice tonight for Game 2 of their National League Playoff Series with Arizona. 6 Dodgers pitchers gave up 11 runs and 13 hits in the Game 1 loss Saturday night. First pitch at 6:07 on TBS. Top 5 teams in this week's AP College Football rankings: Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, and Oklahoma. USC dropped from 9th to 10th after their triple overtime win Saturday night over Arizona. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
You are now in Big Tobacco's Fantasyland. Welcome. It's a healthier world where they want you to believe that vaping makes quitting cigarettes a breeze. Never mind the evidence that vaping leads to using both. And if you're younger, even better, teens who vape are 3 times likelier to use cigarettes. In Big Tobacco's Fantasyland, the deadliest industry is your friend.
Big Tobacco's idea of smoke-free is a dangerous fantasy for us all. See reality at undo.org.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Race, culture wars, political turf battles, criminal justice and injustice, the courts. These are the conversations you won't hear elsewhere. My guests are leading journalists, celebrities, and sports figures, elected leaders, and influencers. They aren't afraid to get into it and say the quiet part out loud. With Ariva Martin in real time, your commute just became the most engaging part of your day. Tune in weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. or find us on YouTube. Ariva Martin in real time, when you want it straight, no chaser.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Do you have both Medi-Cal and Medicare?
If so, the new LA Care plan called Medicare Plus can help you get the most out of your health plan for $0.
LA Care provides personalized service to Angelinos like us.
Plus, it gives us access to doctors and specialists across Los Angeles County.
For zero cost, we get access to full benefits.
From vision coverage,
in-home support services,
to prescription drug coverage,
and a quarterly over-the-counter allowance.
Plus personal equipment,
meal programs,
a gym membership,
and so much more.
For more than 25 years,
LA Care has provided Angelinos with access to quality health care at an affordable cost.
For our families,
our seniors,
our community,
it's a plus.
It's a plus.
For all of us.
Sounds different, huh? This is Tavis Smiley.
We are in conversation right now, deep dialogue with the chairman and CEO of Solidify Productions, B.K. Fulton. And I couldn't be more delighted than to be in dialogue with him right about now. BK, let me just jump to this right quick. I want to make the most of our time, and a lot more things I want to cover between now and the top of the hour. How does one go about retiring from telecom at the age of 49 to move into the next phase of your life, which we'll talk about in a moment? But what occasioned that? How did that happen to retire at 49?
Well, the way to do it, after you have that awakening and you realize that you can do anything, you have enough sense to know that you don't know everything. And so I looked at the lives of 4 special human beings, Vernon Jordan, Marianne Spraggins, Ron Brown, and Dick Parsons. And I looked at their biographies, isolated the common denominators of their lives, and then I wrote a 60-year plan when I was about 20 years old, and based on their lives. And then I just started checking the boxes, and one of the boxes was to retire before my 50th birthday, and I retired at 49 years, 348 days. And so I tell people I spent my first 50 years doing what I was trained to do, and now I get to spend the rest of my life doing what God made me to do. And that's to take the training and these stories and all this that I had experienced, and then pour that into giving back, loving my community, getting out of my own way, and letting all that is good flow through me in such a way that it could touch others.
That's a serious foursome that you mentioned a moment ago. I've had the honor in my life to know 3 of them, and I don't want to spend too much time because I want to cover more ground here. But those names are so iconic in American history, certainly Black history. Just say a quick word about why each of those 4 were a part of your Foursquare.
Well, when I was coming up, these were some of the leaders that folk respected. And when I tell people how to create their plan, I say think about 3 or 4 people that you respect in your time, in your era, and then read their bios, et cetera. And those were the people that were standing out for me at the time. I ended up working at the National Urban League. I ended up becoming quite close friends with Marianne. And Dick became a mentor. Vernon and I spent some time together, of course, at the Urban League, and Ron Brown was also at the Urban League. And so I actually founded the Technology Programs and Policy there, and was grateful for their example, because, I mean, that's the importance of reading these bios of our heroes and sheroes, is that you realize that there are blueprints that are there, and we don't have to reinvent the wheel. The average child, especially from our community, if you aren't brought up with the tradition of success, a tradition of excellence, that there's not a lot of reading in the household or the encyclopedias and books and things, especially the ones on our narrative, then you flounder a bit. And if you watch American TV, what you get is a whole lot of stuff about how we're not succeeding or where we're falling short. You get the sports and you get some politicians, but in terms of, the Tavis Smileys of the world, the B.K. Fultons of the world, that sort of stuff doesn't come across on regular shows. So I love that you have made the choice to use your program and your agency to highlight some of this excellence out here, because what happens is people try to make you and I and others exceptional as if our other brothers and sisters can't do it. And I'm like, nope, wait a minute.
Yep.
Others can do it too. Anybody really that has a brain, a pulse, as you said earlier, can get down with these books and can achieve at the highest levels. You all tried to trick us. I remember when I'm a Sloan Fellow, and I was supposed to go to Harvard. This is after I had my awakening and started figuring out my grades and stuff, got my plan together. They said, well, look, we can fix this. Let's go on up here to Harvard, see if we can get you the Sloan Fellowship. And I had expected to see people with big old heads and thick glasses, reciting the theory of relativity. I got up there, Tavis. They were a number of regular people. I mean, Soledad O'Brien was my resident advisor, and I'm like, man, I can do this work. I belong here just like anybody else.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I wrote a book called The Tale of the Tea, and I have a picture of Dr. George Grant on the cover because my Jewish co-writer said, well, tell me one of the stories that gets left out about your people. I was like, well, what do you like to do? He said, I like to play golf. I was like, okay, did you know that the golf tee was invented by a brother? He was like, the golf tee? I was like, yeah, Dr. George Grant. And he was also the first black professor at Harvard and a dentist. So we have to be multi-talented to get the basic of shots. And so I'm taking some for me and my ancestors, because we are the dream of our ancestors, and they didn't get to do these things. And so I take it as a responsibility to carry the baton a good distance and then to pass it on to the young people, and having prepared them to take it even further.
Yeah. Let me ask you right quick, what you learned, and I'm rushing my way to talk about this entertainment phase that you're in now, this career that you are in, making movies and music, et cetera, et cetera. We'll get to that. But what? Give me a quick takeaway. What did you learn from being a black male leader, president, no less, of a number of divisions in telecom? What was your takeaway from that leadership space that you occupied in telecom?
The biggest takeaway for me was, no matter how high you fly, you still need to have your people behind you. Mm-hmm. You still need to have that support, because if something's going on in a room that you're not in and you need to hear it, mm-hmm. it's your people, that security guard, that janitor, that secretary, the driver,
the driver,
that'll look out for you and whisper something in your ear.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when my wife and I, we got married at the Williamsburg Inn, where she couldn't even go as a child. Mm-hmm. And so all these people that saw us coming back in, getting married there, where the white folk do stuff. We stayed in the Queen Suite where Queen Elizabeth came down and entertained. And so, man, they were so happy to see us in there. The portions were extra. I mean, instead of one piece of bacon, everybody got 2 or 3. All the drinks was cold. You know, wasn't no problem. And so your community looks out for you. And so don't never get too big where you forget about the people that are connected to you, connected to your community.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, when we come forward, I'm going to shift gears now and get to what he's doing these days. We've taken 45 minutes of this conversation to give you a lot of the backstory, and that's important to lay the foundation. We're going to spend the rest of our time talking about what he's doing as the chairman and CEO of Solidify. You're listening to BK Fulton on Tavis Smiley.
Unapologetically progressive. Unapologetically black. You're tapped into Tavis Smiley.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
Happy birthday, Metro K-Line. Whether traveling for business or pleasure, it's time you made today a K-Line day. The K-Line can connect you with fun, food, friends, and family from Crenshaw to Inglewood in one safe, clean, comfortable ride. Take the K-Line today and experience the diversity that makes LA such a great place to live, work, and play. Make it a K-Line day. Go Metro. Visit metro.net/K-Line. Walk to save lives. Join the American Heart Association's Los Angeles Heart and Stroke Walk, Sunday, October 22nd at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. Team up with friends and family and walk to end heart and stroke. Every step you take and every dollar raised will help save lives and make our community a healthier place for all. Learn more and sign up for free at heartwalkla.org. Sponsored by Optum, UCLA Health, Providence, Keck Medicine of USC, and Dignity Health.
For all of us, this generation and the next, there is simply no place in our lives for litter. And yet, it's everywhere we look, and unfortunately, it does belong to all of us. So let's come together and create a litter-free, clean California once and for all. Remember to properly dispose of your trash and recycling. Secure truckloads with tarps to keep debris from flying out. Clean out your car when you're at the gas station. Take pride in your community by organizing a cleanup event or join a cleanup event near you. Zero litter is the goal. Join us at cleanca.com. That's cleanca.com. Let's do it together. Brought to you by Caltrans. cleanca.com.
Ready to re-examine your assumptions and expand your inventory of ideas? More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
Indeed, our guest in this hour is B.K. Fulton, Chairman and CEO of Solidify Productions. The company has produced some 13 feature films, published 15 books, and a #1 show on Broadway since its inception. And B.K. Fulton is really just getting started. And I'm delighted to have him in dialogue in this hour. BK, you'll be happy to know that during that break, I went online and I ordered that book, Men of Mark. It is not in my library, but it will be in a couple of days when it's delivered to my office. But I went online and ordered that book, Men of Mark. And I'm like you, I was a little embarrassed that it wasn't in my library, but it will be. So thank you for giving me a great book recommendation. Look forward to it coming in the mail here in a couple of days. So again, thanks for that. So I mentioned all the stuff that you've done and all the stuff you're working on. You mentioned August Wilson, a piece about him that you're working on. I know that you're working on bringing The Wiz back to Broadway. So just take a moment and brag about all the stuff that Solidify is working on right about now.
Oh, my goodness. I appreciate that. We have so much stuff going. Sometimes I forget what I'm working on. So I'm going to try to recall just this year. So this year we closed on The Piano Lesson, which was also one of ours, nominated for 2 Tonys. That has Samuel Jackson, John David Washington, and Danielle Brooks. We've got The Wiz coming up.
Hold on before you jump. Just talking the other day. So I was with Samuel Jackson the other day, and talked to Denzel not long ago. So as you know, obviously, you can tell the audience about this. They left Broadway and immediately went to film The Piano Lesson with Samuel and John David.
That is correct. Yes, it'll be on Netflix. We donated our piano to the Smithsonian, so a lot of traction. That show became the highest grossing Broadway revival of all time.
Mm-hmm.
So talk about the power of our stories. We also will release The Wiz on Broadway April 17th. And right now we're in a pre-Broadway run, a 13-city national tour that started in Baltimore a few weeks ago, and it'll work its way all the way to San Francisco, then come back to New York with the celebrity cast. We released The Kill Room with Samuel Jackson and Uma Thurman. We also released Freedom's Path on Blu-ray and digital worldwide this past Saturday, and so you can get to that wherever you consume quality media. My latest book, and actually book 16 now, The Blueprint, dropped at #1 in the performing arts section of Amazon. And we also brought back Movie Pass with Stacey Spikes. Stacey created it about 11 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
It ended up getting sold, and white boys ran it into the ground. So we got it back, and it's new and improved. We're already over 130,000 subscribers.
He was just on there. He was just on here a few weeks ago. BK, we had Stacey on the program a few weeks ago.
How about that? Well, look, great minds think alike. Stacey's a genius, as are you, and so many unknown geniuses out there from our community and others. I mean, and if I haven't said this, I really want to say it out loud that we have this rich tradition of allies and excellence. Us loving on us don't mean we don't love other communities, but what it's saying is we've got to, charity starts at home.
Oh, yeah.
We've got to take care of our children and get them strong so that they are able to deal with and help others. But if you're not good, then it's going to be hard to help somebody else to be good.
You know, somebody once said, before you assist the person seated next to you, put the mask on yourself first. So you can't help nobody else unless you put the mask on yourself first. When we come forward in our remaining moments with B.K. Fulton, I want to ask him why The Wiz is so enduring. What is it about this thing called The Wiz that we love going back to time and time again? His name is B.K. Fulton. He's on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good. Yeah, man. Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
What's up, party people? It's your favorite MC's favorite rapper, MC Light here. And we're celebrating 50 years of hip-hop, authentically powered by Cadillac. And we're going to take it way back to where it started. It was only fitting that hip-hop began with teenagers at a back-to-school jam in the rec room of a South Bronx apartment complex by an 18-year-old brother. By the way, I'm also sure he had a Cadillac parked outside. He noticed the energy on the dance floor when he switched between two turntables, extending the beats, repeating the breaks, and never losing the rhythms. And that was the birth of hip-hop. And from that moment, it took off.
For more on how Cadillac is celebrating hip-hop's 50th, visit Cadillac.com/audacity.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 joins you in standing for education as a right, not a privilege. Charles R. Drew University of Medicine and Science is a private, non-profit, community-founded, student-centered university committed to cultivating diverse health profession leaders who are dedicated to social justice and health equity for underserved populations. CDU does this through outstanding education, clinical service, and community engagement. Recently, Charles Drew University made history by opening only the 5th medical school at an historically black university. Congratulations, South LA, and congratulations to the Dean of the medical school, Dr. Deborah Protho-Stith. CDU is now training doctors and providing $90 million in annual economic benefit to Watts and surrounding neighborhoods. To apply for medical school, get more information, or sign your child up for the Junior Doctors Saturday School program, visit cdrewu.edu. That's cdrewu.edu. At KBLA, we are dedicated to equity in education and ending healthcare apartheid. And we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
Who do you trust to get at the truth? Tavis Smiley. That's who. The conversation continues right now.
B.K. Fulton, what is it about The Wiz that we just love? And I'm delighted to know that you all are bringing it back to Broadway. But tell me about why The Wiz is so enduring for our people.
Hey, well, I appreciate that. If you are a person who's born in the 1900s, for that generation of African Americans, The Wiz was probably one of the first times that our people saw themselves speaking that way, dancing in a Broadway production. Then it was a big screen musical, and it became almost the rite of passage for our community. And the metaphor, ease on down the road, as we're hearing, don't carry anything that might be a heavy load, ease on down the road. That is a metaphor for our experience. And so with this current production, we've refreshed that for a current generation. It has the nostalgia that we still relate to for the people that saw it back in the day. And then we've refreshed it so that it has some elements that folk who are new to it will appreciate. But when I was at the opening night, I mean, the crowd was all kinds of people who appreciate great art, and it is absolutely great art.
Yeah. Have you, I'm not trying to put up on you, but have you made announcements yet about the celebrity cast for Broadway?
We have made some. Wayne Brady will play the Wiz. Deborah Cox is going to play the Good Witch.
Okay.
And Nichelle Lewis is playing Dorothy in both the national run and the Broadway run. She's a young new talent, actually out of Richmond, Virginia.
Mm-hmm. That's a nice cast. But it is an enduring piece of work, and I know that there are many who cannot wait to get back to Broadway to see that. I was in New York, as I mentioned. I saw Samuel a week or so ago. I was there for the opening of Pearly Victorious, our friend Kenny Leon, and that amazing cast that is now doing, again, Pearly Victorious, written by Ossie Davis. Hadn't been on Broadway and hadn't been on stage in this way in 62 years, and Kenny did some refreshing on that as well. So I say all that to say that I'm just delighted to see more of us getting our turn on Broadway, but in your space, producing the stuff on Broadway that we're seeing. That's a big deal, BK, on the Great White Way, as they call
it. Yeah, well, look, somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, I love it. Somebody's got to do it. I ain't mad at you for doing it. His name is BK Fulton. He's the chairman and CEO of Solidify Productions, and he's got his hands in a whole lot of different pots, feature films and Broadway productions, musicals, and books, etc., etc., etc. As he said, somebody's got to do it, and he is doing it well. BK Fulton, good to have you on the program. All the best to you. Hope to run into you somewhere down the road, my friend. All good things to you, and thank you for your time.
I appreciate it. Thank you too, brother.
I appreciate you. Just like that, 3 hours, poof, gone. Back here tomorrow, Lord willing. Do it all over again. Until then, thanks for tuning in. Do not forget, in this city of L.A. and across the nation, 5 to 7 p.m. Pacific time today, you can tune in to The Tape 1 year later. It's an exclusive, and you won't find a greater panel of persons to talk about this tape that came out a year ago, demeaning our people. What of it? And as Dr. King once asked, where do we go from here? That's today, 5 to 7 p.m. live. Check us out on the website, KBLA 1580, or the KBLA 1580 app if you want to hear that conversation. Until then, thanks for tuning in, and as always, keep the faith.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The United Auto Workers strike is now in its 25th day. It comes as union members at the Volvo Group-owned Mack Trucks went on strike today after rejecting a tentative contract agreement. In a letter Sunday, UAW President Sean Payne said a majority of workers voted against the deal, which included a 19% pay raise. Now, union workers say they want a 40% pay increase, cost of living adjustments, and pensions for all workers. Simone Biles is now the most decorated gymnast of all time. She won her 6th world all-around gold medal in Antwerp, Belgium on Friday, the first female or male gymnast to ever reach that mark. The medal brings Biles, who is African-American, her world and Olympic medals total to 34. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.